Hello everyone, it's the Sky Priestess and welcome to this latest live. Let me just pull this on my laptop as well because I want to see if it's actually working. I don't see anyone online yet, so I'll just keep talking till I see some numbers and then we can go and get into the session or rather the discussion itself. So, just because, sometimes the internet is funny, and that's why I just want to check and see if everything is okay. Okay, I see one like and 0 people. How does that work? Okay, I see 2 people. That means we are live. Excellent, excellent. Okay, and people are coming in. Fantastic. So in that case, we can very happily, very happily get started. Okay, I see Carolina. I see Coyote Prophet. Hello, everybody. I see Michi. I see 813, who is laughing for some reason. Well, I see Peeps. That's the most important thing. So, I see Kasaya. Hello. How are you doing? How are you doing? Okay, so today we're going to be talking about something. Well, first of all, I'm going to give you an update over the past couple of days. As I told you, there's a whole bunch of Therapies stuff. So, unsurprisingly, we managed to get into 3 near car accidents. Everybody is fine. Girls are a-okay. Car is okay. A little bit of injuries here and there, but we are more or less in one piece. So, we are okay. But I've just been taking my time because I knew something was going to happen. And it did. And we are through it. And through all of that, we had a lot of grace and a lot of help, showing us the way and guiding us through. And that was also to be expected in a good way. But that's one of the reasons why I waited before I did my next installation. So, in the meantime, especially to help speed up physical healing, because it did result in a couple of mobility issues, I've been looking back at TCM because, as you know, I have a deep love of TCM, and sometimes, without reading it, I'll know where to go or which point I need, but I will not understand the why behind it. And then that's why I read to figure out to go, oh, okay, this is why I'm guided here. That's why I need to do this. So one of the things that I was looking into, and one of the things I was figuring out, is something, and of course I'm not the first person to say this, just connecting the dots independently and seeing others saying the same thing is good validation. I was looking at the role of fluids in the body and the role of the interstitium, which was touted as a newly discovered organ in 2018, even though people in the muscle therapy community were like, we've been talking about this for decades. Hello, you just completely ignored us. But the interstitium and in its connection to the body was, more widely understood and known about 4 years ago. And it is, of course, deeply linked with the fascia. Personally, I'm still trying to understand the subtle difference between the two, but effectively taken together, they are kind of compartments that separate the organs, but at the same time create a network by which they are all connected through fluid. Um, I mean, I can read out the definitions, but I think it'd probably be good if everyone were to have a quick look at them themselves for better understanding. But effectively, they are systems that have to do with the connective tissues, and they are systems that very much have to do with what eventually becomes lymphatic fluids in the lymphatic system. So it has a lot to do with healing, inflammation, and this system takes up about 1/3 of the fluids in the body. So it's actually really important. So for those of you who've looked at the title, I relationship to all of this. So in TCM, whether I look at it in terms of the stars, because literally the Chinese system is fantastic. Like sometimes I may be seeing psychic patterns and I may be looking at the Chinese constellations and going, oh, okay, that's actually the same thing. And so I'll be looking at the philosophy behind it. And one of the things I do is I just end up reading really old research on Taoist texts, and it's amazing because it also gives you deep insight into the body. So I was looking at the triple burner meridian, and some people call it triple warmer. Some people use the Chinese name, which is the Sanjiao, or SJ, as some people may see it in annotation. Some may say TB, TW. It all depends on how your lineage uses it. And, I was looking into this and looking at how the movement of fluids in the body, regulates temperature. It is the meridian that has no organ, so to speak, no discrete physical organ. And I'm looking at this and I'm looking at research on interstitium and fascia. And like myself, others already looked at the conclusion and looked at the three and came to the conclusion these three are related. Just because, I mean, whether it's with me or it's with some clients, or if I'm looking at something happening with my brother or someone who, I would trust my capacities in helping with in this way, if I can't figure out what is wrong, I first go to the triple warmer, because I go, okay, this is going to help me clear through, this is going to help me see what is going on with a person. And so when I found this research online, and really you can just Google it yourselves, it really made a lot of sense. Because if you think about it, especially for people who are mediums, who are psychics of different varieties, who are diviners, or people who just basically end up doing a lot of observing and absorbing information in a psychic means, all of this has to have a physical correspondence. All of this has to go somewhere in the body. If it doesn't have a physical correspondence, it is not reaching you. So for me, that's got to be this system. And the meridian that deals with that is the triple burner. So I was looking through points on it and trying to understand how different points can be very useful for different things. And I wanted to teach something which should be safe for everybody to use, just because, I'm not going to tell you to stick a needle in yourself. I'm not qualified to do that. But I can tell you acupressure points that can be very useful, especially when you do a lot of psychic work and when you have issues, difficulties in regulating temperature, especially if you feel random patterns of heat all over the body, or if you feel like, there's just so much that's being held that you're having a difficulty letting go of. I wanted to teach people something that could really help. So, let me just get what I wanted to teach you. This is a point that in the Chinese system, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which I may not be, but it's basically spelled as Zhongzhu, Zhongzhu. If you are Chinese and wish to correct me on this, feel free. This is Sanjiao or triple warmer 3. And this is something which I think every psychic, every medium, every facilitator needs to know. Just because we get into this field, and a lot of the times we are just focused on sensing, on listening to different things, but we don't are not taught how to develop discernment. We are not taught on how to actually clean and clear our bodies. We're not even taught as to where this is taught in the body. And frankly, I end up talking to facilitators who have been in the field for years that have not had these basic concepts taught to them, just because no one really thinks about connecting the dots. So, I work with it, I use it, it helps me. So I am sharing it with you to see if it will help you. The point that I have in mind, so the easiest way to find it is if you make a fist like this. So you see knuckles, right? Let me see if I can adjust the camera. So if you see your knuckles like this, so this is for the fifth finger, this is for the fourth finger, right? Like so. So if you were to imagine an equilateral triangle connecting these two and kind of coming to a third point in the middle here, that's roundabout where you're going to find triple burner 3. And specifically speaking, if you ask me what is the function of this, it's going to be about, here we go, as a good phrase for this. Subduing wind and heat patterns emanating from the wood organs of liver and gallbladder, which are channels that are very much involved in discernment and will, and I believe also very much have to do with the vital forces of creation and how we walk our plan, or how we change our plan, and how we move in the world. It's a very, very powerful point. So triple warmer 3, I would say something that you can maybe press at most once or twice a day, at most for a minute. Pressing a point doesn't mean that you have to needle yourself into it. It is something that you can very lightly activate, and it's something that you can do regularly for your own psychic health. And even if you're not doing this as a profession, some people are just naturally very, very intuitive, and they naturally just end up taking in things that are not their own because they don't know how to differentiate what is their own and what is not. And this is one of many, many tools that a person can actually use to help you bring that point to focus. I mean, some of you may be like, but she talks about astrology and spirituality. Why is she talking about this now? Well, honestly speaking, astrology and spirituality will only take you so far. Astrology might give you a story, it might give you a narrative. Spirituality might help you understand certain things. And usually, in the act of understanding, your mind is better than able to receive energy and change certain patterns. But at the end of the day, if you don't look at the body, you're missing out completely, because at the end of the day, nothing happens in your life through you as a physical vessel without actually engaging that physical vessel, which is why this point is particularly important. And hopefully this helps. So that's what I wanted to tell you in this live. It works. It absolutely helps you clear the way to see things a little bit better. It absolutely helps you calm down, especially if you're the type of person who does spiritual work that ends up getting you to overheat or experience a temperature dysfunction in another way. And it just allows the energy and flow or rather the movement of energy in your body to be a little bit smoother. Just because one of the things that happens when you either are able to see too much without knowing how to switch it off, or if you are just taking in and taking in, taking in and not letting go, one of the other things that happens is that a blockage can occur in the system. And the blockages as they occur can have serious and very debilitating effects. There are three regions of the triple burner, which is why it's called the triple warmer, which is why it's got the three theme of it. For example, a blockage in the lower regions can result in issues with the bladder, issues with the kidney, issues with general reproductive system, with the menses, with fertility. Issues in the upper regions can have to do with things that affect the eyes, things that affect the mind. Issues to do with the central region can result in a lot of issues around the heart. So, and entire bodily system. So I would say for those of you who are looking into more holistic approaches, definitely add this one to your list. For those of you who don't want to go into the research side of it, which is totally fine, do look for practitioners who work with myofascial or myofascial release, because that's the closest system that, or rather closest modality that I know of that would directly work with this. I mean, a lot of the times I've gone to doctors, and because, in their head, if you're a larger person and you feel pain, it has to be because of your weight. There's no other possible reason, which is why I kind of look at them and go, yeah, you spent how many years to get a degree to tell me that? But a lot of the time, I find that, at least in my case, it has a lot to do with the psychic imprint or the psychic residue of what is in the body that is uncleared. And when I realize what it is and I move that out of the body, the pain actually goes. So, this is something which, for me at the very least, especially as I'm recovering from this recent spate of injuries, it's certainly something that has moved along the healing process quite a bit. So, having said that, let us have a quick look to see who's around and if there are any questions or comments with respect to what has been said. Hello, VB. Hello, Paul. Hello, Lambton Hill and Pirate Cat. Hello, V Stormfelt Witch. Hello, Valerie. Hello, Tamalan. Hello, Arlen. Okay. Excellent. On point and on time. Do you have any questions with respect to the material that has been shared today? Believe me, this will actually save you a lot of money as well. Flower Child, you're looking younger as time goes by. How nice. This is called lighting. This is honestly the effect of sitting in a well sunlit room and having a good phone. Because I looked at myself, I was like, oh my God, where did all these wrinkles come from? But anyway. Sky Blue says, hi, sweetie dog. Hello, love. Hello. Brandon Lewis says, Sky Priestess, glad to catch you live. Love the smiles and energy. Good to hear. So just as a recap, in this video, I've been talking about the role of the triple warmer, meridian, and how that connects to our psychic ability to sense psychically, and why it's an important part in maintaining psychic health, especially if you are a facilitator or simply someone who is very sensitive to energy. And I also share a point which you can actually look up, that you just can help yourself with by using that every day or when needed, to be honest, because sometimes the overwhelm is very rapid, especially when you live in very high intensity, lots of triggers to trauma, lots of issues one after the other. But a gentle nudge can help you clear, can help you heal a lot faster. So that's what we've been talking about. I am going to go off and go do more reading, which is what I do, unless there's any questions or comments with respect to what has been shared today, or any other general question, you know, around this. I'll give you a minute. And there appears to be Russian bots putting weird links. Let me do something about this. Uh, okay. Oh, Anne asks a question. How did the meridian system become a known pathway for healing? Well, it's been there for thousands and thousands of years, in the Chinese system, in the Indian system. So it was very much part of the evolution of different cultures and their approaches to holistic healing. So it's not at all something that's recent. Um, Kimberly says, looking to get into healing work. How do I do this? If it depends on your modality. So if you're interested in TCM, go and learn TCM, which is traditional Chinese medicine. If you're interested in Ayurveda, go and learn Ayurveda. If you're interested in, well, you got to basically find what's the modality that works best with you. Lantern Hill comes up. I belong to a group that practices EFT. We start with karate chop, which is tapping on the side of your hand. EFT is another one. Any tapping based system is essentially tapping into the meridians directly. Carolina says, what do you think about cranial sacral therapy? I think it can be really useful, but you've got to be really careful that your facilitator is able to clear from the people that they work with. I mean, as someone who has to hold incredibly dense space for people, because you know the kind of people who come. I do not see this as a parlor trick. I'm not going to be doing sessions for people who just want their vanity or ego stroked. I get a lot of people who are very seriously in the work, or people who are in very serious, dire, desperate circumstances. There is a big psychic residue. So every session, I have to have psychic protection up. I have to perform clearing after each session. And sometimes a session can be so heavy I have to cancel for the rest of the day. So, you got to make sure that the people that you are working with will actually have that level of discipline. Let's see. A asks, how will the Leo moon affect us, Cappies? Honestly, that depends more on your ascendant rather than your sun sign. Valerie says, yesterday and today have been really intense, feeling saturated, lots of information, many veils lifting, not always easy to receive. Thank you for sharing this. It is so helpful. Thank you. You are most welcome. I think this would help you a lot. Hello, Savita. Paul says, I walked by a location across the street. A 20-year-old was killed. Okay. Suddenly, to my right, I heard a groan and there was no one there. Do you think today's young are prepared enough for death? Um, let me tell you what happened yesterday. So, in addition to us surviving multiple near misses on the road, we did pass by an accident, and I'm pretty sure the person on the ground was dead. But so at this point, when I see death, I'm like, okay, you're going to where you need to go. Let's say some prayers, make sure that you've done your responsibility in that situation and keep moving. But I'm someone who has to face this all the time. Whereas I don't think that whether it's a person who's young or a person who's old, I don't think age really has anything to do with it. I think it is simply more about understanding whether you see death as a part of life, or if you see death as a traumatic, disruptive event, or if you see death as something which is, like I said, it's commonplace. But in all of those definitions can be true. So I don't really know how to answer your question because it's not about age. It's more about how, as a society, people talk about and think about death. And truthfully, I would say the young are probably the most aware as a group, the most aware and the most sensitized to the fact that this planet doesn't have that, well, the planet will be fine, but humanity on the planet doesn't really have that much time left unless it changes something. So, yeah, I would say they probably have the best awareness. Wisdom felt rich as death is everywhere. If you let it slow you down, you'll drown. Exactly. So you can do what you can do, but you have to find a way to create a space where you can't let it overwhelm you. And the same comes up in discussions of trauma. The same comes up in discussions of processing everything. So it's just not the kind of reality as a whole where we can really afford to allow ourselves to get completely taken up and completely overwhelmed. And part of that is in developing inner discipline. I mean, I was watching something on Instagram, and my Instagram is cool. Okay. I look at cats, I look at really creative people doing things, I look at artists and musicians, because that's what I like to look at. That's what I enjoy. And I like watching cooking videos sometimes. That's fun. But one of the things that comes up, especially in the recommended things, sometimes are very unusual people. One was this woman with this amazing account called the Redhead of Auschwitz. Yes, Auschwitz, as in Nazi Germany, Auschwitz. And she was the music was so incongruous to the topic, but it was amazing. The music was the song "That's Not My Name." And you saw the captions where she actually went into when she was sent into Auschwitz. There was a guy who was tattooing the number that the Nazis labeled her with. Okay. And she actually jumped the queue to another line because she saw that this guy was sloppy. And she was determined. She went, you know what? When I get out, I don't want to have sloppy numbers on my hand. She was so utterly convinced she was going to leave. And the message of that video was, believe in your dignity and have hope for the future. And, when someone has survived Auschwitz and says that, it basically just goes, no, I'm the redhead of Auschwitz. I'm going to own this. You kind of look at that and go, that's the energy we need to see more of in the world. And of course, she can make a joke of it because she actually lived through it and had to find a way how. Another very interesting thing I saw on Instagram was this Japanese man who's a model, and he lives in Amsterdam, and very, very attractive fellow. And he was talking about the meaning of the word discipline, which is one of my favorite words, discipline. And he was saying in Japanese kanji, the word for discipline it's a compound word. So you can actually separate the symbols. And when you separate the symbols, discipline is to be beautiful. It's one of those things that, you can waste time on Instagram and TikTok, or you can get inspired by people. It's the same experience with life. You can go and just zonk your brain out, or you can actually learn something by people who have lived through things or people who have a different perspective to share. I tried the latter. And so, and I was looking at both of these lessons. I'm like, yeah, there is beauty in life if you are willing to believe in it. There is a reason to continue if you are willing to believe in it. But to do so, you must have the discipline to experience. You must have the discipline to process. We, collectively speaking, and I think this comes back to the triple burner, we've been holding in so much that now we finally feel like someone's willing to listen to our stories. And then we let it all out and we see, oh God, this is exploding all over the world. What do I do with all of this, information? And that's where self regulation is very, very important. Self discipline is very, very important. No matter how dire, no matter how desperate it is, this is a time where we need to see the ugliness. We need to see the pain. We need to see the trauma. We need to see all of those things. And despite all of those things, realize that there are still things in this world that are worth living for. There are reasons why we still need to keep trying. Because honestly, I'm a very direct person, as you probably know. When I see people kind of filled with ennui, saturated with existential dread going, and please don't, no one take this as permission to jump off the planet because I'm not offering that. Um, when I see people kind of bitching about how sucky everything is and using that as an excuse to just keep bitching about things, and I go, well, you know what? Free up some resources. Why are you still here? I don't say that because people have a way of taking me very literally sometimes. But in my head, I'll be thinking that. Yet at the same time, I also see so many people who have lived through so much, like the redhead of Auschwitz, and she has such a powerful message. Believe in dignity, believe in the future. Yes, you're going to go through shit, but you're still going to be here as long as it is within your path to be here. And if we can remember that perspective, we will go a far longer way on our journeys and on our paths. I mean, I studied in Germany for a little bit. Always been drawn to Germany, speak the German language a little bit, and looked into German history and politics. And I often think about Nazi Germany, and I think about the lessons that, when I say it taught, it doesn't mean that uh, when I say it taught people lessons, I'm not saying that that justifies what happened. No. And have there been larger genocides on this planet? Of course. Of course they have. Just go look at what happened in the Belgian Congo. But I'm not centering it for that reason. But I think about it and I think about what responses people have. Some people ended up joining, some people ended up joining the Nazis. Some people were content to just kind of go, you know what, I'm going to take care of my own. Whatever happens around me, you guys go deal with that. And that's not going to influence me. And I'm just kind of going to sit and hide in a corner. And then there were some people who were turned, and instead of actually helping the people who are being oppressed, they could have become traitors to that. And then, of course, there were people who went out there and stood and made a difference. Sometimes they infiltrated the ranks to make a change, and sometimes they just out and out stood in opposition, or they fled and they carried their culture somewhere else. And I just think that in this time, even though there isn't a central figure, central boogeyman that everyone can point their fingers to, in some sense, it's very much the same energy. And people are needing to choose where they stand. Are they going to stand on the side of dignity, on the side of compassion? Are they going to stand with those who are oppressed? Or are they actually going to be people who join the other camp, to take pleasure in other people's suffering? Or are they going to be people who turn a blind eye for whatever reason they make up of their own? These are the kinds of things that I think about. But anyway, let's get back to comments. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. That was me. I pressed the wrong button. Technology. Hang on. I can figure out the esoterics of a lot of the universe, but sometimes just a plain button on YouTube can stump me. But anyway, so just a sec. Let me just get to the comments. And I'll go through your comments one by one. So I'm just opening it up on my computer where it'll be easier to see. Give me a sec. Where are we now? Come on, you can do it, computer. I got a new one. That's a good thing. Through all of this, I managed to get a new one. I feel proud of myself. Oh, here we go. Okay. Right. So let's look at the comments. Mozart says we need some more of your music. I hope so. I finally got a decent computer. A says finally got to join Tier 23. Great. Tier 23 rocks. Great. Marisol says just tuning in. New Rosa says never caught you live. Paul Trucker says, hey, Paul Collins says, hey, what do you think about the Canadian trucker protest? Haven't been following it, been trying to recover from various accidents on the road. If I follow it and have something useful to say about it, I'll say something. Savita says, you mean perishing of civilizations when you say humanity will not survive. I did not say humanity would not survive. I said there's a strong chance of it if we keep going on the road that we are. Grace says, hi, Doc B. Hi, Grace. Tamalan says, so true, Dr. B. I see the suffering of my family members and it motivates me because I can't let their struggle be in vain. I keep it balanced by not giving into saviorism, plus me being the end all be all. That is a good position. Mozart says, Virgo Germanic Stoicism. Sexy as fuck. So Sarah says, hi, Dr. B. Hello. We Stormfelt, which goes, honestly, watching how children are raised here compared to our customs back home, I'm like, why do I have to be here watching these people slowly kill their children instead of being home raising mine? Can't answer that question because I don't really know what you mean by home or customs back home. Ria says, hello. Hello, Ria. I've been thinking about you lately. Hope you are well. Um, and yeah, it all comes back to developing that inner discipline. If we, take in too much of whatever is going on in the cosmos, whatever is psychically saturating the field, and if we don't regulate our bodies, we're just going to end up in these states of defeatist, I can't do anything, what's the point, how am I supposed to manage everything? And that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't. So go back to the start of the video. I give you a very useful point that will help to shift some of that energy. Remember to keep things in balance and see what you can do. See what you can do. At the end of the day, you have to be practical. Take what you can afford to process, to do. And you know what? You can't fix everything. Focus on, there was something else there was something else that I read once again on Instagram. I'm really enjoying Instagram. It was about how you can't do everything at once, which is very true, but you can focus on something and really do it well. So find the thing that you can focus on and do in a way that actually brings a benefit to you and others. Maybe it's starting a lending library. Maybe it's doing something with kids with with parents who can't afford daycare, creating a free kindergarten or something. Maybe it's creating an organic farm. Maybe it's creating a cooperative system to help small businesses. Think of something practical that you can do that doesn't just help you, it helps others, and go and do it. And whether or not the world survives and whether or not humanity survives, you are still going to have done something. Because at the end of the day, life is deeply unpredictable. No one can predict what's going to happen in the future and on a grand scheme of things. I've seen a lot of people try, which is why I don't do predictions, because no, free will is one of the most powerful forces in the world. So do what you can. And if you have a belief in God, as I said, God is a they for me. It's not about a gender. Same letters as dog, and dogs are very sweet, so it's got to be on good footing. But if you have a belief in God or divinity or whatever name you want to call it, believe and do your best. If you can just put yourself in that position and in that mindset, that is also discipline. Discipline is not about working out every day intensely, waking up at exactly this time, following a robotic system. No, it's also about knowing when to set your boundaries. I see people who are very enamored by the idea of going into spirituality, of becoming a facilitator. And then I see them, I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? Okay. And then I see them after a couple of months, I go, how are you doing? And it's usually burnout and like, oh my God, what the hell happened? If, those were honest enough to admit it to themselves. Just focus on what you can focus on. You don't have to do anything grandiose. You don't have to have all your chakras activated and open and light shining out of your butt. You don't need that. Stick to something practical. At the end of the day, you work with your physical body. Do what your body can do. That's it. And whether or not you worry about it, unless you actually do something about it, the trajectory is what the trajectory is right now. So stop fixating on what you can't do anything about. and start focusing on what you can. Tamalan says, any crystal recommendations? I'm thinking tiger's eye and clear quartz. Well, maybe that works for you, but it's not what I would recommend right now, generally, because those are amplifiers. Though I understand the temptation for, tiger's eye, especially with the year of the tiger starting. I'm a tiger. I'm a fire tiger. So we'll see. Um, no real surprise there. But I would say things that help you clarify and focus. Clarify and focus, and the kind of focus that is more rooted in your spirit. Tiger's eye is very good for your will, but try to look at things that help you focus and find clarity on your spirit. I would actually say gentler stones like maybe aquamarine or aquamarine, amazonite, those come to mind. Again, look at what you can do. Don't take on too much because that doesn't help. I mean, think about it this way. Think about it this way. You know how doctors and nurses are the ER? They can't sit there and go and feel for each and every single patient and cry for every single patient. Not saying you have to go that extreme, but there is value in detachment. Do what you can and then move on. Selenite can work. It can work. Come on, phone. What are you doing? Uh, phone. What are you doing? Here we go. Selenite can work, especially to absorb energies. But it's not, unless you program it that way, it's not necessarily something that's going to give you focus, but it can certainly help you absorb some of the excess that you might have. One thing I can recommend is a salt bath. That will help. Salt baths help. Go to the ocean if you can. That's the best thing. Um, I was sitting in the ocean recently, and I was looking at all of these rocks, and they were nice. It was a volcanic beach, so it was like they had this. Of course, I looked it up. Pyroclastic rocks with red veins of iron ore. So I was just sitting there and looking at this beach and talking to it, which is what I do. And when I get the chance, and it was nice. So, go to the ocean, or just have a salt bath if you can't, and just allow yourself to let go of what you can't hold and give it back to source. That's it. Don't do too much. Do just enough. So having said that, I think that's what I wanted to say this. Go back to the beginning for the specific point in the triple burner. Oh, okay. And Alexis, back to my meridian question. I'm curious if you think the first acupuncturist had extra planetary input to come to understand. Oh, this is a good question. Um, probably, probably. I would say yeah, probably. Um, you know, but that doesn't make it good or bad. Any system that can manipulate the body is a system that can empower and a system that can also control. That's why, for example, in the Indian tradition, you can use the points of Varma to heal. You can also use them to kill. Even in the actually knock someone out with. I read all of these things. um, here we go. Mm-mm-mm. New Rosa says, thank you especially for your reading of Kali as a product of patriarchal imagination, the forcing of quote unquote woman into rage for the sake of justice and survival. You're most welcome. It's not a popular read, but like I said, I walked that path a long time and saw the strings attached to the puppet. Doesn't help. Yeah, I would say that's about it. That's about it. So take care. Lots of love to everyone. Bear in mind we have Mars trine Uranus in the sky, so hopefully this talk also opens some insight, some doors of insight. For me, insight is not about something that's far away. Insight is here and now. That's about it. Lanton says, thank you, thank you, Dr. B. Blessings to you, your brother, and the cats. Thank you. Madonna sends hearts. And Tamalan says, thank you. You are most welcome. So I'm going to head off, and you're welcome. And yeah, take care. Very many blessings, lots of love. Sessions are ongoing for those of you who do need assistance. Please make sure that you really check in with yourself before you come to me. You know, check in with yourself. Make sure you are in a space to receive before you come. And if you can do that, that saves everybody a lot of time. Blue Sky says, thanks, cute top. Yay, thank you. And yeah, lots of love. Take care. Very many blessings. Ciao, ciao for now. Bye bye. How do I close this thing?